Yo, welcome to the show, BroMob. We're your hosts, Chad and Brian. Today is October 29th, and you know what that means. Week 8 of football, fantasy football, whatever you want to say it is over with. We're officially into the second half of fantasy football season. Welcome to the show, BroMob. We got so much to go over today. Of course, we're going to go over our Week 8 fantasy recap, our genius picks, our dumb picks, waiver review, and then we're going to end the show with our trades, holds, and folds. So as always, we've just got a jam-packed show. Brian, how you doing over there? You got a new hat? Is that a new hat you're wearing?
Kind of. I mean,
it's new to my eyes.
Slightly new. It's slightly new. I mean, I've had it for a little bit, but I don't normally wear it when I'm recording the pod. I usually wear a different hat. However, I figured I'd mix it up today since I nearly broke a 10-year record, basically pointed all over your face. Mm-hmm. And, how's it, Chad? I got a question for you. It's real simple. How's that butt feeling? How's your booty feeling?
I got a better question. How's it feel to peak halfway through the season? Because you're going to fizzle in the playoffs. So I'm not too worried about it. I feel pretty good, actually. My team did okay. Right now, Pittsburgh defense is confusing me against this Ryan Fitzpatrick-led offense. But outside of that, I'm completely fine. I feel good. My mind is at ease. Your team is now going downhill from here because you can't peak after that. So it's all downhill from here for you.
That also might be very true. Here's the deal, Chad. After you score 172 points, 172.7 to be precise, and the league's all-time scoring record through 16 years of our league of record is 182. I was really close. It was set 10 years ago. And who better to do it against than you? You talked a lot of smack last week, man. I got to be honest with you. You had this coming. I mean, I told you I was gonna pound you into the ground, and that's exactly what you got.
Well, I did it on purpose. It was all strategic for your team to peak at this time and to just go downhill. It's going to be terrible. So my strategy worked.
It was strategic for you to let me score 172 points. Thanks, man.
Yeah. I'm like Bill Belichick over here. I'm playing chess, dude. I'm letting you win this one so that I can get the chip. It doesn't matter about anything else but the chip for me. So
I'm over here
you sit there on your high tower of 172, whatever the hell it is, and I'll sit over here and plot and plan, maneuver, scheme, beat you.
Yeah, you're going to scheme yourself right out of the playoffs.
God, I hope
You're playing chess. I'm over here playing human-sized checkers.
So it's less complex for you? I'm very confused.
That's how incredibly good I am. That's how my vision is. Everything's huge.
Of course. What is it whenever you put the other checker piece on top of the other one? Is that
King me? King me.
King me.
King me.
Double king me. just keep kinging me. All right, this show's already off to a bad start here. BroMob, we're going to get right into it here because we got so much. It's absolutely jam-packed. We have so much jam in this. It's like grape jam jelly. It's like strawberry jelly and jam. There's jelly jam, preserves.
Space Jam?
Space Jam is in this. Michael Jordan, Bugs Bunny, whole bunch of stuff going on. It's creepy. Before we get into this, BroMob, be sure to follow on after the show by following us on Twitter and Instagram at FFBrosPodcast. Search that hashtag BroMob. And, just check out all the awesome stuff that Brian and I go through every day. So let's get into that show. Fantasy Weekly Recap. All right, BroMob, we're going to start today's show off with one of the better games of the week, actually, surprisingly, even without Pat Mahomes there. Though they showed Pat Mahomes more than I've ever seen somebody shown that's on the sideline, right? I mean, Drew Brees has been out for most of the season, too. He doesn't get as much airtime as Pat Mahomes does. I mean, I think after every single play they showed him on the sideline and what his reactions were. so it was pretty fun.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So Drew Brees is just breezy, okay? But Patrick is Mahomesy. All right?
Hated everything about it. What this game really was, I'm just going to move on. It doesn't even deserve any more talk than that. What this game really was the game of errands, Brian. I mean, Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, any Aaron that was in the stands probably had himself a good day as well. He was out, or woman that was Aaron. I mean, that goes both ways. It's Aaron and man and female. Both sides. They had a good day yesterday at the Packers game. I don't know about anywhere else, but at that Packers game, they did well. Aaron Jones, number one running back of the week. Aaron Rodgers was up there in the top 10 as well. Just big week all around for both of them. Absolutely huge. Mecole Hardman had a pretty good game. I mean, he had that pretty trickster type of looking play, got a big touchdown off of it, and Kansas City really held their own without Pat Mahomes. It was pretty interesting to watch. So, just a really fun game. Let's get into the next one here that it was a little interesting. So Redskins-Vikings Thursday night game really dominated on the defensive end for the Vikings. And, of course, Dalvin Cook. I mean, that guy is just continuing his dominance at the running back position this year. But the big storyline that came out of this was Case Keenum going down with injury and Dwayne Haskins coming to the game just not looking good, man. Not looking good at all. What do you think, Brian?
So, Chad, I'm glad you brought this up. So my question is let's say Keenum's out for some extended time here. What do you think the impact to Scary Terry is here?
I mean, we saw it, right? He's still going to get his targets because, in all actuality, Haskins and Nightmare Terror, hashtag Nightmare Terror, have a connection from college because they were both in Oklahoma State, OSU, and Ohio State, sorry. All those Ohio State fans out there, I probably just absolutely angered you out of your mind, but I don't really care. So Dwayne Haskins, Terry McLaurin had a connection there at Ohio State. But as we saw, Dwayne Haskins is just not hitting his targets where they're supposed to be. So Terry might see the targets his way, but I think he sees a dip in catches and a dip in yardage as well. Probably a dip in touch. I mean, it's a down trend for him all around, right, all across the board.
Yeah, and so if Haskins is the guy over the next week or two, I really like Peterson moving forward. So somebody to keep your eyes on is, Adrian Peterson had a pretty good game. 14 carries, 76 yards, had 2 catches for 27 through the air. That's a pretty good stat line. And it was really cool. He was kind of in tears in the game. Like the crowd gave him a standing ovation, and it was just it was really cool to see Peterson back in Minnesota. And I thought it was really classy what the fans did for him.
Yeah, I hear you there, Brian. Adrian Peterson definitely. I mean, I'm gonna say the running game for the Redskins going forward looks good, and I only say that because a guy's coming back. He was seen at practice. A little guy who prompted this music right now. Miami Geis, ladies and gentlemen, has been spotted at practices, and he's due back in the next couple weeks here. Brian, is this the type of guy that could be helping the BroMob in their fantasy playoffs?
Could be. I do think he's going to be involved. My question for you, Chad, is was he wearing aviators?
Ooh, he was wearing aviators. He drove in a Trans Am.
Van?
Trans Am.
Just
looking good, doing everything he could. Miami Geisen, solving crimes. I think Minshew was in the back seat with a leopard, just trying to tell him what's up. It was a good time.
Miami Minshew?
Ooh, we got to move on. We're gonna get too much into this. What games we got next, Brian?
So Bengals Rams was a really good game. Actually, I don't know what I'm talking about. It was terrible. So here's the deal. Good. Henderson and Gurley split carries. If you're a Gurley owner, this is not what you want to see. I mean, he salvaged his day with a touchdown.
2 weeks in a row, actually.
Yeah, again, if I'm a Gurley owner, I get it. Your fantasy output so far hasn't been terrible. It's not definitely definitely probably not what you drafted him for, but it hasn't been terrible. He's been serviceable, but I'm worried that that through the end of this season, as fantasy goes on, the risk gets greater and greater that he slows it down a bit and Henderson becomes more involved. So, it might not be a bad time to think about, splitting from Gurley and maybe trying to trade him while his value is still pretty high and his stat line looks good. Lots of passing on both sides of the ball. I mean, really, I was really impressed. Cooper Kupp, holy smokes, he's back. 220 yards, a touchdown. What a game. Mixon got in the red zone, but other than that, it was a pretty meh type of game for him. So, not much to really see too far into this game. Chad, what do you think about the possibility of AJ Green coming back here soon? I think
for the Bengals. Both for the Bengals, which, I mean, their season's pretty much over with, and for fantasy owners. I mean, what's going to happen, right? Are they going to – you think they're going to keep him within these next few hours? I mean, the trade deadline's coming up here. Do you think AJ Green gets moved? Do you think he stays?
Here's the crazy thing is I'm hearing rumbles that New England still is in the market for another wide receiver. They want one more. Wouldn't that be crazy? So I don't know. We'll see. But let's just play the scenario that AJ Green stays put. Look, Dalton's thrown the ball all over the place this year. And so, I think AJ Green could step right in. And so get your greens ready. The other game here, Chad, Seahawks Falcons. This was a little bit of a lopsided game from a stats standpoint. Like Matt Ryan was out in this game. Matt Schaub actually played really well. 460 yards and a touchdown on the day. Julio Jones had a huge game, $152 through the air, did not get into the end zone. Austin Hooper did, 65 yards and a touchdown. Look, Seahawks had a completely different stat line. They ran the living daylights out of the ball. Chris Carson had 20 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown. 100 yard. This is a crazy stat. 100 of Russell Wilson's 182 passing yards went to Tyler Lockett. So, what a game if you're a Lockett owner, you were happy. You had a pretty good game from Tyler Lockett. DK Metcalf, his day wasn't heavy on the yard side, but he did get in the end zone twice. So, a lot of fantasy points came from this game, and is it kind of what we expected? We expected a lot of fantasy points. I just didn't expect Russell Wilson to only throw for 182, Chad.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. However, I am going to bring up something here with Will Dissly being gone and DK kind of being the big guy there. Do you see a trend maybe kind of forming here, him becoming from what I have seen, he's actually one of the most heavily targeted individuals in the end zone, not the red zone, but the end zone this season. So with Will Dissly gone, this could become something more regular for him, touchdowns or at least touchdown looks from game to game.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think he will get a lot of looks in the end zone. However, here's the thing with touchdowns is they're super unpredictable, right? So you can have a lot of up and down games, and if you're making a deep push for the playoffs, or you're already locked in pretty much, and you're trying to get the right people. I like Lockett more, because he's getting the yards, and then if he grabs a touchdown too, so his floor is much higher, and he's got a good ceiling as well. DK's floor is going to be lower, but his ceiling's super high because of his end zone or his red zone and end zone targets.
Yeah, I see something similar to what. Not saying that he will finish this way, but I see something similar to what happened last year between Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, right? I mean, Tyler Lockett getting all the looks that Keenan Allen was getting, Mike Williams getting the end zone looks. This kind of looks similar to that. So, interesting to keep an eye on. Let's get into our next game, though, Brian. We got Eagles-Bills, heavily impacted by the weather. We had some strong winds in this game. Some bad weather included is in there, so it became a heavy rushing game. We saw the rookie Miles Sanders absolutely erupt for some big yardage touchdown, some big yardage plays. Actually had a top 10 fantasy week at the running back position. Jordan Howard, 23 carries for 96 yards and a touchdown, and a big game for him as well. Ertz continues to kind of get outshined by Dallas Goedert as well. I don't know. I had mentioned this last week. If you watch this offense, it's like Goddard is the one. He's that 5-yard safety outlet that that Carson Wentz is looking for, whereas Ertz is going 15, 20 yards for the big plays, and Carson Wentz just doesn't have enough time. That offensive line's struggling. So Carson Wentz struggled in this one, other than the touchdown to Goddard. Not too much going on there, but Josh Allen hit 2 passing touchdowns in this one. He had low passing yards, but you know what? Every week his floor is good because he rushes. He rushed for 45 yards in this one, so he looked good. But otherwise, the Eagles' defense just absolutely dominated the Bills all around. It was a pretty defensive, pretty rush-oriented game. So let's get to the next one here. We got Chargers-Bears. Oh, Brian, you got something?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to add really quick, you talked right before this, the weather was a very heavily impacted piece of this game. And it was really, like you said, Chad, the wind. The rain is not really as big of a deal when you have rain, unless it's like pure flooding like it was last week against in the Redskins game. You really don't have a lot of issues, but when you have sustained winds of 15 miles an hour or more, that's when the statistics drop significantly. So, obviously you have the outliers, but they had sustained winds of 20 miles an hour in this game, and some of the gusts were over 20. And so you see it in the stat line. So as we lead into the late months in the year for fantasy, keep these things in mind. When you get heavy winds, lots of precipitation as well, these things can affect fantasy outputs.
Yep, good analysis there, Brian. And you are not forgiven for saying sorry for interrupting me. So let's move on to the next game. We got Chargers-Bears. You know what's kind of funny, Brian? So David Montgomery, huge game in this one. 27 carries, 135 yards, 1 touchdown. I think you had alluded to this last week, right? You're like, watch David Montgomery. This is the week that he gets 25 plus carries, more than 100 yards, a touchdown. This is the game that is going to trick people, right? I mean, in all actuality, if you can try to use this game to kind of trade David Montgomery, would you?
Chad, actually, I don't know if I would. And here's why. So David Montgomery has the second easiest remaining schedule for running backs to finish the season. So, if you're a team that has a lot of wins, you've got a deep running back core, David Montgomery happens to be like your 4th running back or something like that, then maybe you can move him and try to improve a wide receiver position or something like that. Otherwise, if David Montgomery's your RB2, I don't think he's going to be a bad RB2 rest of season. I mean, quite honestly, this could have been his breakout game. The Bears should have won that game. And yeah. I think Matt Nagy has got to be looking at it that way and thinking to himself, this is a game that we should have won. We lost by a field goal. David Montgomery was clearly not a disadvantage to that offense. I think he was the offense. So why wouldn't you want to continue that type of offense? And that is the formula for success for them, I believe.
So you're saying the formula for success is not with Trubisky? Their savior? Savior Trubisky?
Not Savior Trubisky.
Mr. Biscuit?
But no, save me a biscuit is what I like. I mean, I 100% want you to save me a biscuit, but Mitchell Trubisky is not a starting quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. Time to make a trade.
Time to trade Bisky out of here.
Trade Busky.
Outside of the Bears, though, I mean, the Chargers side of the ball they didn't look good either. In all actuality, they Eckler and Melvin Gordon, outside of having touchdowns, they were essentially ghosts in this game, right? I mean, Eckler had the receiving touchdown, Gordon the other one. It's just this offense is not what I was expecting. We just got the news here a moment ago that Ken Wisenhunt was fired from offensive coordinator. This could actually open things up for them. So this is good news. I mean, I don't understand how Ken Wisenhunt had a job in the NFL still, because he's not good by any means. So it's kind of good to see that. You could see some stuff open up for this team. Maybe some passing game, some more of that rushing game. It's just interesting to see. Brian, what game we got next?
So Giants-Lions game was not what I expected, to be quite honest. So Daniel Jones had a great bounce back week, over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns on the day. Saquon Barkley was an absolute beast. 19 carries, 64 yards on the ground, 8 catches for 79 and a touchdown through the air. Golden Tate just continuing to be an absolute steal if you snagged him off the waiver wire. He led the team in receptions and yards. A lot of people, although I think we were high on him before the season started until that suspension happened, Chad. So
Yep.
the other side of the ball with the Lions, Stafford also balled out, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. Galladay had one heck of a game.
Huge game.
123 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. The big exclamation point in this game, Chad, was the absence of Ty Johnson, what everybody presumed, and you and I even presumed, was going to be the pickup of not only the week but almost the year. Like, this was almost like a Kerryon Johnson replacement, and was not the case at all. It left a lot of us scratching our heads. What do you think this means for the backfield moving forward?
I see a committee approach going forward. I mean, Trey Carson was used quite a bit, kind of like that bruiser. And then they brought in Ty Johnson, J.D. McKissick, and just they kind of rotated the running game out of there. I don't like it.
Yeah, Chad, me neither. So the next game here, Jets, Jaguars. So the Jets are an absolute mess, man. Just an absolute mess. Le'Veon Bell has been rendered irrelevant, basically, especially in this game. Griffin had a decent game for the Jets, 66 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. But on the other side of the ball is where the story was. Detective Minshew, he done did some stuff. 279, 3 tutties. Your boy Leonard Fournette, I know you love him. He continued to impress. 19 carries, 76 yards on the ground, and then he had 7 catches for 60 yards through the air, Chad. So what do you think about these Jaguars? I mean, they seem to have a lot of really good young wide receivers. Leonard Fournette's doing his thing. Detective Minshew's leading the group. I mean, what say you?
I say yay. I like the team. It's fun to watch. I like Minshew. DJ Chark is an absolute rig at wide receiver. I mean, he's a big guy, fast, can jump over everybody. I really like that connection that they have going on there between him and Minshew. Fournette is the perfect pound it guy that just keeps things rolling, and defense is tired enough for Minshew to just kind of slice and dice them. So I like the Jaguars. I don't know if they're necessarily I mean, they're definitely not a contender by any means. Playoffs, though, I mean, they could sneak into a wild card. I could see it happen. All right, let's get into this next game here, Brian. We got the Saints-Cardinals game, and by all means, this wasn't that much of a game. The Arizona Cardinals were absolutely dominated all around by the New Orleans Saints in this game, and that's just kind of punctuated with a big injury to Chase Edmonds, who looks like he's got himself a significant hamstring injury, significant enough for the team to actually go and trade for Kenyon Drake. Kind of gives you both the lowdown on what happened to Chase Edmonds and what they're kind of thinking there, and then also kind of what they're thinking about David Johnson as well, Brian. And we mentioned this last week. The team went out. They were looking at veterans to bring in. Usually you don't go out and look for veteran presence at the running back position if your star running back is healthy, right? We saw that he was probably going to be missing. We knew he was going to miss this week, probably going to miss the Thursday night game as well. And trading for Kenyon Drake could just be the seal of it all, right? It's like basically saying, hey, David Johnson's not good to go for most of the season, if not all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be the case, and I think the team is recognizing that they're just different. I mean, this is a passing team. It's a heavy passing team, and that pounding style of offense that Bruce Arians brought to the Arizona Cardinals, that's gone. And so, I don't know. This could be the end of David Johnson in Arizona. I don't know if it's necessarily going to happen before the trade deadline here, but after the season's over, it could be them saying goodbye or moving on from him.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. They're definitely not moving on from Christian Kirk, who showed some signs of chemistry with Kyler Murray in this game. But Brian, the big storyline here, Drew Brees is back. 373 yards, 3 touchdowns. It didn't even look like the guy was injured. He was off resting the whole time, coaching the team on the sideline every game. It's what it was. He took time off, let Teddy Bridgewater kind of shine. He came back, absolutely went off. Threw a lot of passes to Michael Thomas, of course, 11 catches, 112 yards, a touchdown. And then the big game here, Alvin Kamara out for the day again. Latavius Murray, 21 carries, 102 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. Follow that up with 9 catches, Brian. Almost had 10 catches in this game for 55 yards and another touchdown. Wow, just a huge game.
Yeah, I was really impressed. If you're not a or if you're an Alvin Kamara owner and you don't have Lat Murray, he needs to be on your team.
It's back-to-back weeks of top 3 performance from Lat Murray. So,
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Bread's in the pudding. What do we got next, Brian?
Buccaneers Titans. This is the game of the week. Not. So here's the deal. Also not a game I expected. I mean, I kind of expected a defensive juggernaut type game. This ended up being an aerial assault, at least on the Buccaneers side. Mike Evans, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns, Chad. Remnant of his game earlier this season. Unbelievable. Buccaneers played pretty well. Jameis Winston also had a game, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 53 yards rushing for Winston. So, but the Titans proved to be a little too much. They ended up winning this game. Derrick Henry, pretty quiet game, 75 yards rushing. Tannehill, not a bad game, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day. So, Titans, I guess my question for you, Chad, is what do you think about Tannehill rest of the season? Is he a streaming option?
Yeah, absolutely. And we mentioned it last week by bringing him in as a streamer, right? It was one of my choices. Yeah. Ryan Tannehill is a definite streamer going forward, depending on the matchups, of course. But I like him. He's getting the wide receivers involved. He's getting everybody kind of involved in this offense, and I like that it's a little bit more consistent than it was before. So
yeah, absolutely. Broncos Colts, Chad. This was a snoozer type of game. Marlon Mack had a pretty good output, 76 yards and a touchdown. Freeman and Lindsey split carries on the Broncos side of the field. Other than that, looks like Flacco's possibly going to hit IR this week. He's got some neck issues, possibly a
herniated
vertebrae?
Disc.
Herniated disc. That's right. Thank you. So, I don't know. I think if you're an offensive Broncos player owner, this is like, I mean, it was already bad with Flacco. It's even worse now. This is not good.
I mean, Sutton had been doing well. I believe he was a top 10 wide receiver. Not super flashy, but he was getting targets, he was getting yards, he was getting some touchdowns. Without Flacco, and it's weird to say it, without Flacco, it's going to hurt him. Right? I mean, it's weird.
They're going to be wacko without Joe Flacco.
That sounds wacko.
Let's
move on to the next game. We got the Panthers 49ers. This wasn't a game. The 49ers demolished, destroyed, anything with the word D in front of it. They destroyed them. The Niners defense is just, Brian, they're so good. This defense is ridiculous. Nick Bosa, he's not just going for rookie of the year right now. He might damn well be the best defensive player in the league right now. There's nobody that's as dominant as him at the line, that's getting to the quarterback, that's stuffing runs. Hell, he got an interception in this game. He looks great.
Yeah, I mean, the Niners defense, I said it when we got started this season, that first game, Niners, Buccaneers, and I think I said after that game, I'm like, this might be a real defense. Like, we may have just completely overlooked them. 100% was accurate on that. We overlooked them hard. I actually think they're more talented than the Patriots defense.
Ooh, because if you think hold off with that.
Well,
Patriots defense is best. This might be the best historical season ever by a defense with the Patriots right now.
Look, I understand, but you also have to take in consideration of who the 49ers are playing and who the Patriots have been playing. The 49ers are playing real offenses, like actual real offenses. Okay, this Panthers offense was no joke. I mean, Christian McCaffrey still went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs against them, Chad. 117 yards and a touchdown. He had 38 yards through the air. I mean, so you have one of the best running backs in the league, and they still made the Panthers look silly. So I mean, I just think this 49ers defense might be, they're at least on par, in my opinion, with the Patriots defense. If they're not better, they're at least on par.
Yeah, these are two great defenses. That's for sure. I love the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs there, Brian. You actually loved it so much that you wrote 2 notes of it in this. Who's the other guy that went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
Tevin Coleman. He went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. 105 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground, 13 yards through the air, and another reception touchdown. So 4 touchdowns on the day.
He's got a bullet for CMC went cuckoo. The next bullet is Coleman went cuckoo too.
Come on, man.
It's the last time I put you in charge of anything. All right. Brian, let's keep on moving here. We got 2 more games left, and we got to get into the show. We got Browns Patriots. Another just absolutely defensive domination here. The Patriots, Brian, the first 3 plays, I wouldn't say the first 3. There were 3 plays from scrimmage in a row in which there was a turnover from the Cleveland Browns in this game. Nick Chubb fumbled it wasn't the defense that did the first fumble. The ball got kicked out of his hand by his offensive lineman in the first fumble. But the second one, Nick Chubb took it to the house almost, 55 yards. I was screaming because I have him against you. And then just, who was it? Joe Johnson, right? Or John Johnson, or whatever his name is, Joe Johnson, came up from behind and was able to punch the ball out of his hand, got a fumble there. And then the most boneheaded play I might have ever seen, more so than the butt fumble, Brian. Baker Mayfield called hike, took the ball, and almost like like the granny style bowling, where you between your legs, you throw the bowling ball between your legs down the aisle. It looked like he granny styled a ball just right into a Patriots defender's hand. Like, here you go, don't hurt me. Like, it was just giving it to him. What was that play?
It was, I think, my favorite play I've ever seen. Because I still am trying to wonder to myself, or I'm not trying to wonder, I am wondering, like, legitimately, what were you thinking, Baker? He threw it right, literally just tossed it into the Patriots defensive lineman's belly. Like, here you go, guy. So I don't know, man.
There was no strategy to it. He just gave it to him. Here you go.
It's the epitome of the Cleveland Browns season.
Yeah, this team is absolutely atrocious. Chubb went, other than those 2 fumbles, he was able to rush for 131 yards against this really good defense. If you watch him, I don't know why this guy's not getting 30 to 40 carries a game. It's like every time he touches the ball, he's electric. It's ridiculous what he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it was exactly the type of game I expected it to be. Chad, to wrap things up, Raiders-Texans, this was a really fun game to watch. I actually watched this game a little bit. Derek Carr had a great game. 285, 3 touchdowns on the day. Jacobs, 15 carries for 66 yards. I actually thought the Raiders were going to win this game there for a little bit. I thought they had them. But Watson was Watson, man.
Man.
Freaking gets kicked in the eye.
Doesn't care.
Yards.
Gets pissed off. Throws a touchdown.
Yeah, gets mad. throws a one-eye touchdown. 279 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day. He added 46 yards through 10 carries. Carlos Hyde's a bell cow. I'm just going to tell you right now. Like, I firmly believe he's a guy that could if you've snagged him and you're light on running backs, you should be playing him. 19 carries, 83 yards on the ground. No one else was really involved other than other than Watson. Through the air, though, Hopkins is the man. 11 catches, 109 yards. Just didn't get in the paint, but he was a beast in that game.
Yeah, didn't need to get in the paint. He had a huge game. So, all right, BroMob, that is it for our weekly fantasy recap. Let's get into our genius picks.
Genius, genius, genius!
Brian, if you could stop fake throwing that football at my face. I'm flinching every once in a while. For whatever reason, I just natural reflex. I feel like the ball's coming at me. I can't do it. BroMob, let's get into my genius picks here. I'm going to start it off with my solid gold start of the week. Aaron Jones, ladies and gentlemen, the Jones Show. 38.1 fantasy points, the number 1 running back in fantasy football this week. 13 carries for 67 yards, 7 catches for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had himself a game. You know who didn't have a game in that same game? Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who I said to sit, 1 catch, 4 yards, 0.9 fantasy points, BroMob. That is 0.9. Hopefully you didn't put him in the flex spot or anywhere else. He was not worthy of anything. I also said to sit Greg Olsen at tight end this week. You might have been short on tight ends, looking for that flex play, that plug and play. 2 catches, 13 yards, 2.3 fantasy points on the day. He wasn't the guy for it. And then finally, for my last 2 here, I said to start the Jags defense. God, I hope you did, because they were the number 3 defense on the week, 17 fantasy points. And then I said to stream Ryan Tannehill, who was the number 10 fantasy quarterback this week. I mean, 21 for 33, 193 yards, 3 touchdowns, ended with 19.4 fantasy points on the day. Very serviceable for you guys.
Yeah, Chad, it was a good week for you. I had a really good week too. Here's the deal. I'm going to run through my stuff. I'm just going to give the fantasy points because I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't think to put down the actual statistics. Completely forgot. My bad. But here's the deal. Start Tom Brady was my first recommendation. 18.4 fantasy points on the day. Hopefully you started him. Also said if you had Rivers, definitely don't play him. Sit him. Only gave you 10 points this week. Sit Derrick Henry, 6.8 points on the day. It wasn't a bad day. Just didn't get in the end zone. And I think he had a fumble too in that game.
He did.
Start Tyler Lockett, 13 points on the day. Had over 100 yards receiving. These statistics are just over top of my head, so if I'm wrong on them, I apologize. This was my favorite one. Sit OBJ. I did get a little flack for this. Where are you at now? 7.7 points on the day, OBJ. Sit Zach Ertz. I actually said I like Dallas Goddard. Is it Goddard or Goddard?
Goddard.
Okay, I say Goddard for some odd reason. Dallas Goddard. I said I liked him better than Ertz in this game, and he pulled through, had a touchdown on the day. But Ertz, 3 points. So hopefully you sat him like I told you to. Start Austin Hooper, 15.5 points. Was really actually kind of irrelevant in this game until he caught that touchdown towards the end of the game.
Yes.
Stream. These were my 3 streaming options. Big picks this week, guys. Okay. First of all, Teddy Bridgewater was my original big stream of the week. Ended up Drew Brees ended up getting the go. So I made a pivot, and so hopefully you were on key to the title. Pivoted to Derek Carr. Also made him my rock solid, gold plated, diamond crested stream of the week, Chad. 23.4 fantasy points, and then also had recommended streaming the Lions and Titans defense. They both gave you 10 points if you did so.
All right, let's get into our not so smart picks, BroMob, and talk about our dum-dums.
You blew it!
BroMob, man, maybe my dislike for Leonard Fournette's going too far, but I am going to say I did call about 20 carries and 75 yards with no touchdown. Is exactly what he had. 19 carries, 76 yards in this game, no touchdown. What I didn't expect, BroMob, was the 7 catches for 60 yards. That's what really kept him relevant in this. 17.1 fantasy points. Sorry about that one. Also, the start, Kirk Cousins. Listen, he actually didn't have a bad game. He just didn't get any touchdowns in it. He didn't even crack the top 20 because of that. So he went 23 for 26. Brian, I'm not even kidding. 3 incomplete passes in this game. 23 for 26, 285 yards, just didn't get any touchdowns, didn't need them. They ran for all their touchdowns. They got defensive everything in this game. So bad week fantasy, good week in real football. And then finally, I said the stream, TJ Hawkinson ended up with 1 catch for 21 yards, 2.6 fantasy points. He's kind of becoming a boomer bust type of guy that I'm going to start avoiding.
Yeah, Chad, I didn't really have a lot of bad picks this week. And I'm not saying that just to say it, but I'm actually saying it because it's true. So the only real bad picks I had was streaming Kyle Rudolph. That was a tough one. 3.2 fantasy points. That game on Thursday night ended up just being a slobber knocker type running down your throat game. Kirk Cousins only threw the ball, I think, 26 times in that game. So sorry about that, BroMob. And then sit 49ers defense. I was wrong. Never again. Play them every week. They're matchup proof. 18 points on the day. I'm never sitting 49ers again.
All right, BroMob, this week's waivers. We got 4 of them here for you. Waiver wires are kind of thin right now, but there's still some gems. We're going to start it off with Alexander Madison. Look, he's only owned in 17.6% of leagues, and this is the time where you're kind of looking at the playoffs and your star players, right? If you have Dalvin Cook and you're looking at a playoff stint, you're going to want to cuff him, right? And only owned in 17.6% of leagues, he's worth a stash on your roster, especially if Dalvin Cook, history of injury, can go down at any time. That could ruin your whole playoff stint. Get Alexander Madison in there right now because he's one of the best handcuffs in the game. He's getting used in games right now. I mean, he's getting double-digit touches from week to week, right? I mean, and he looks good. He's getting around 5 yards per carry on those, and he gets a touchdown every once in a while. So he possibly a flex play from time to time, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, and in all honesty, all you Dalvin Cook owners, and yeah, Chad, I'm looking at you too. All of you should be ashamed of yourselves for not having this guy rostered already. I mean, let's be honest. If he goes down, if Cook goes down, Madison is automatically an RB1. I mean, I'm convinced. What I've seen in garbage play when Dalvin Cook's kind of like done for the day, he's Dalvin Cook 2.0. Like he is electric. So get him on your team. I don't know what you're doing. Chad, this next guy is he's not only kind of a cool guy that wears aviators, but he's got a really cool theme song too. That's right. Miami Geis, Darius Geis, running back for the Washington Redskins, only owned in 29.2% of leagues, Chad. So if you're looking for a running back that could be a little bit of a depth play, definitely get him on your team. When he has ran the ball in the past, he's been extremely serviceable.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. And this is the week that he's going to get added too. So if you don't get him this week, the percentage is going to go dramatically higher next week. So the next one we got here, BroMob, AJ Brown of the Tennessee Titans, wide receiver there, owned in 15.4% of ESPN leagues. Look, Ryan Tannehill's starting to get them wide receivers more and more involved every week, and that includes AJ Brown. I mean, his targets have gone up for the last 2 weeks with Ryan Tannehill there, and also his fantasy points have started. His floor has risen as well. So AJ Brown, worth a stash.
All right, Chad. But last but not least, we've got wide receiver Preston Williams from the Miami Dolphins, and he's been kind of a guy that's pretty serviceable throughout the season. Doesn't have a lot of touchdowns, but he's putting up some decent yards. 6 catches for 82 yards against Buffalo, and then this week against Pittsburgh, 4 catches for 42 yards. And he does have a pretty cool name. His first name, Preston, reminds me of Mr. Deeds when he's like the maid lady's like, "Want me to dust the leaves on your ficus tree, Preston?"
Of course it does.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I hated it.
That's his name.
All right, Broma, we're getting into the last one here. We got trade, hold, fold coming this week. Brian, let's start it off with a big name. I mean, this guy had the number 2 fantasy running back score this week. Tevin Coleman, 4 touchdowns, over 100 yards on the ground. Are you trading, are you holding, or are you folding?
I'm holding. I mean, this 49ers offense is predicated on a workhorse back. It's clear now. This is what Kyle Shanahan wants and envisions. And Tevin Coleman is his hand-picked guy from the Falcons. So full steam ahead on Tevin Coleman, man.
Yeah, this could be a pretty big season coming forward for him, or to end the season, I should say.
Yeah, Chad. So the next guy on this list is wide receiver Stefon Diggs, the Minnesota Vikings. So, Chad, look, Diggs has had a tough start to the season, but Thielen went down. Diggs has really stepped up and has started to really shine. Are you trading him? Are you holding on to him? Or are you going to fold?
I really like where the Vikings offense is going. They're not, they still run the ball, but they're getting the pass more and more involved, and it's an efficient way of getting the pass involved. Dependent upon Thielen's health, I like Stefon Diggs. His value is probably about as high as you can get it, so if you want to trade him, now is the time to do so. But I don't see any problem with holding him either. So either way, BroMob, I think if you want to trade him, this is the week. Otherwise, intend on holding him.
Yeah, Chad. So the only thing that bothers me about him is Adam Thielen's going to come back.
Yeah.
And rest of season, the Vikings have one of the toughest schedules for wide receivers to finish the year. So that's my only concern. But I do think they're going to be in a situation where it seems like they're finding really great balance. So I'm with you on that.
What do you think about Joe Mixon?
Yeah, so here's the deal. Joe Mixon has struggled. That offensive line is a mess. I feel like the team is in kind of rebuild mode at this point. I think if you have him, I'd be willing to try to trade him right now to see if you could upgrade. I'm not a big fan of him rest of the season. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think he's got a pretty tough schedule going forward as well. So I don't really like that as well.
Yeah, Chad. Next on the list here is wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders for the what was the Denver Broncos, now the San Francisco 49ers. And in his first game with the Niners, looked good, man. Got in the end zone, some quick chemistry with Garoppolo. Might be what that team exactly needed. What are you doing if you're a Manny Sanders holder right now? Are you keeping him? You trading him, or are you gonna let him go?
If you can pair him with somebody, they get a big name wide receiver to upgrade your wide receiver core. Do that. But if you don't think you can really pair him with him, or if you don't want to pair him with anybody, if you think that he's got a good outlook going forward, which I do like what he's got going forward. I do think he's the number one wide receiver on a very good team. Go ahead and hold him. I think he's a good flex play going forward, just like a kind of plug it and forget it type of flex play. Not necessarily a wide receiver 2 or anything like that, but I like him there. I think this is a good rest of season for Emmanuel Sanders.
Well, I think I'm going to hold him. So, and here's the thing. Manny Sanders has the 49ers have top 10 easiest offensive wide receiver schedule for offensive wide receiver schedule. Interesting words there I just gave. But what's really fascinating about them, Chad, is their playoff schedule. So week 14 in New Orleans, week 15 home against Atlanta, week 16 home against the Rams. And so those three offenses, or two of those three defenses, I'm sorry, not offenses, are pretty terrible against the pass, and that's New Orleans and Atlanta. So that week 16 matchup against the Rams, he'll probably draw Ramsey. So that's going to be a tough matchup, but I mean, Manny Sanders might be up to the challenge. You never know.
Ew. But I like the rest of them. I don't like Jalen Ramsey. Brian, what do you think about Melvin Gordon?
I don't either.
Commissioner.
Well, so that's a good question. He broke out this week. I feel like if he doesn't get in the end zone, it's kind of like there's nothing. He broke out last week, not this week. Sorry. So I think I'm trying to move him. I just think there's mouths to feed. I don't know what's going on. The offense it seems like it's kind of in shambles lately. Though the loss or the moving of the offensive coordinator here, firing of offensive coordinator, intrigues me because historically, whenever you lose an offensive coordinator like that, they tend to favor the run quite heavily. So I'm interested to see what Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler do this coming week. So I think I'm going to hold for one more week and then maybe try to move them.
I kind of feel the same way about another guy, Todd Gurley, right? I mean, this is one of those weird running backs is kind of touchdown dependent. He's getting touchdowns, but it's very dependent upon those. If he doesn't get it, then he's putting up a dud for you week in and week out. Look, all of the speculation about that knee was true. They keep trying to act like, you know what, we're not putting any time on them. We're not scaling them back at all. But here's the reality is they are. I mean, last season, Gurley was a 25 touch a game guy, and now he's just simply not that anymore. He's splitting backfield touches with the rookie there, Darrell Henderson, back-to-back weeks for Henderson with 11 touches on the ground, and then also getting used in the passing game as well. So it's just a matter of who gets the touchdowns. Right now, Todd Gurley's getting them, but that could change. So I'm in a position where I would trade Todd Gurley right now for anything that could bring some more value, some more consistency my way. You might be looking at his points and saying, well, Chad, he's been pretty consistent. He's got double-digit points. That's because of the touchdown, guys. If he doesn't get those touchdowns, he's going to be killing you in the playoffs. I promise you.
Yeah, Chad. So, I like Todd Gurley and all, like as a person, but as a fantasy player, I don't like him. Here's the deal. His fantasy playoffs schedule is absolutely brutal, dude. So he finishes the season with against Dallas, Seattle, and San Francisco. So it's just a brutal schedule. If I'm a Todd Gurley owner, I'm moving him now before it's too late.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm the same way. So, and then let's finish it off here, Brian, with old man himself,
old man
Larry Fitzgerald. Are you holding? Are you trading? Or are you trading Are you holding or are you folding?
Well, here's the deal: you can't trade him because there's not much value there, right? And you don't want to let this guy go. I mean, he is I think top 10 in receptions or targets. I'm sorry, on the season still to this point. So I'm gonna hold him. I'm gonna hold him and hope for better days. I think there are better days in the horizon, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, Chad.
All right. Makes sense. I
Yeah,
would
get
definitely
off
be
me.
holding on to him too. It's just there's potential there. So I'm the same way. I can't fathom a world in which somebody would be trading you for him, or vice versa would be accepting a trade for him. Right? I mean,
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm not gonna trade for him, nor am I going to trade away from him. So I'm gonna hold him, which is where I was going with that.
well, BroMob, that's going to do it for today's show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday and Wednesday to stay up to date on the fantasy football world and to gather any insights on how to dominate your fantasy football league.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure you head over to keytothetitle.com, BroMob. We have all kinds of start sits, waiver advice, weather reports, you name it. We put a lot of time into it for you. As things change through the week, we're also making adjustments to those recommendations on our website. So make sure you head over to keytothetitle.com, create a free account today.
If you're not listening to us on Apple Podcasts or on YouTube, if you're listening to us there and you want to listen to us in the car, we're everywhere for podcasts. We're on Spotify, YouTube, as I mentioned, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. We are now on iHeartRadio as well. We have TuneIn. Pretty much anywhere you can possibly fathom a podcast, we exist there. Check us out, Fantasy Football Bros. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at FF Bros Podcast, and be sure to check out our website, thefantasyfootballbros.com, for all kinds of articles, rankings, and so much more. See you tomorrow, BroMob.
Bye, everybody.